So I haven't been doing videos lately because I guess after talking to yourself, the stigma wears off, right? This like mystique of like, oh my God, I'm conversing hopefully to people, and after like a few videos you just feel like you're talking to yourself, which is okay because originally this was just so that I can get my enamoration with films out. But I think that like I started getting it out the way after the first few videos, and I was like, okay, I'm good, I'm chilling. Like, I don't, like, am I really gonna do like 10 years worth of videos and whatever? And then something kind of miraculous happened, kind of insane. I have one subscriber. And that was enough. So whoever you are, if you get notified of this, thanks. You're literally the reason I was like, I should make another one. Just because, like, if someone cares enough to, like, just subscribe to some random dude on the internet because I'm voicing opinions on films, that's kind of the excitement. That's peak film geek, like, what's the word I'm trying to say? What is it that I'm trying to say? It's just really cool, right? We watch media, we watch things, we read things, we play games. And then the exciting part, almost as much as like watching or experiencing it, is like having a back and forth or like just sharing opinions. And that's fun. That's the fun of like pop culture. It is culture, and it's meant to be discussed and disagreed upon and agreed upon and all this. So it's cool to see that I had like one subscriber. I know it's like, that's nothing to anyone, but to me that's like, hey, I didn't think anyone would care enough to subscribe or listen, because there's 1,000 me's on YouTube. There's so many people that just talk, right? And presumably when people subscribe, they're subscribing to your personality, and maybe they like something about you, because obviously, like, talking about your opinion isn't fucking revolutionary. It's not new. Like when I subscribe to people based on their personality, because I want to have them in the background, and it's just nice. It makes me feel like I'm in moments of silence not alone. So it's cool that whoever you are, if you get this, if you get notified, genuinely appreciate it. That was like kind of what I needed to be like, maybe I'll do a few more. Because this is kind of why I started doing this in the first place, just to like have back and forths and conversations. I haven't done a lot of like, if I haven't done any promotion for the YouTube channel or anything like that, just jumping on and seeing what happens. So that one subscriber kind of made all the difference, and just like me putting up another video. So whoever you are, thanks. Genuinely appreciate it. I guess this review discussion, I don't even want to call them reviews, but I actually want to talk about two films. I've watched a huge amount of films since like my last video. I've watched Boy Kills World, I've watched Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, I have watched The Fall Guy, I have watched like Kong, Godzilla, New Empire, and I have watched a couple others, but the ones that really like, and I'm just gonna talk about 3 here, and just or maybe just 2, and then that way I don't like end up wanting to do more than an amount of videos that I like. Actually, I don't want to feel pressured to like do 3 videos on 3 individual films, so I'm just gonna pick like 2 of the best, talk about them here, and then the last one in its own thing. But the 2 films I genuinely want to talk about are the most recent, which like surprised me and were some of the most fun I've had in the movies as of recently. Are The Fall Guy and Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes and Boy Kills World. But I'm going to do a separate video for that, because that was such a great film experience. I don't think enough people went to see that film. It is incredible. and that's probably that'll merit its own video because there's so much I want to say about Boy Kills World. But I'm gonna just stick to Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes and The Fall Guy. So I believe the best for last. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is last. But I'm gonna talk about The Fall Guy really quick. The Fall Guy is a film directed by David Leitch, who is well known for the John Wick series, also known for Bullet Train on Netflix, which was really fun. He's known for Deadpool 2, I believe, Atomic Blonde. So he's an ex stuntman turned director. So he's him and Chad Stahelski, I believe it's Chad. They're kind of responsible for ushering in this like era of like stuntman turned director. The same thing happened with the director of Extraction, which is also a Netflix original, and I believe he is the double for Chris Evans in Captain America. And Extraction is a film directed by a stuntman. So there's this amazing trend that started that I'm so happy exists. As someone who's always wanted to be a film director and has worked in the business and is sort of tiptoeing into the stunt world, it's just really cool and really aspiring to see that this is a way to sort of, you know, this is a foot in the door in a lot of ways towards bigger things. But the film The Fall Guy really is a love letter to not just stunt work, although it is the like it's the main driving element, narrative element of the film, but I think just the film as a whole, it's very meta. It's all about a stuntman who is told by the producer that he needs to go out and find the actor of the film that he is in. So Ryan Gosling is the stunt double, and something happened to the main actor, and the producer asks him, "Hey, you're a stuntman. No one notices you." Which is kind of true. Stuntmen come in and out of sets and then just disappear, and you're like, where'd they go? And they're usually in a trailer with a bunch of other stunt people just being cool as fuck. And it's cool as an ex-military. It's a lot of them are ex-military, so they act very ex-military, and they're all like together, bunched up. And it's really cool. But the film kind of plays into that, like, stuntmen go unnoticed. They do all the cool shit and then they go. And so the producer basically tells Ryan Gosling, "Hey, go find Aaron Taylor Johnson's character, who is the lead actor of this film. Something's happened to him. I need you to go find him." And it sort of leans into this like mystery chase film. This reminded me a lot of The Nice Guys, which is a film I adore. Ryan Gosling is also in it, and I will say that his character in The Nice Guys is sort of a amateur investigator, self-employed investigator, private detective, and how he's kind of clumsy but funny and charming and kind of a dunce in that film. You could literally, like, it's almost, you could put this in the 70s and turn it into a sequel to The Nice Guys. I mean, his character and the shit that he finds himself in is kind of insane and very reminiscent of the Nice Guy's character. And I absolutely love it when he plays, clumsy, charming badasses. He has great humor and just such an ability to sell the dumbest lines in the most charming ways. Or you're like, yeah, I mean, I could, if anybody else delivered this, no, but it's his delivery, and his delivery is so organic and so funny. And I think that, Ryan Gosling and Ryan Reynolds are people that are very charming, despite what some people may think. But, a lot of people are saying that Ryan Reynolds is doing a lot of the same characters. I mean, that's what he got popular off of. I personally love when he does the drama. I loved him in Buried. I loved him in Safe House with Denzel Washington. I loved his sort of evil turn in Amityville Horror. But I do love his humor. And what's funny about Ryan Gosling, and he's Ryan Reynolds is like complete chaos in a good way most of the time. And then Ryan Gosling is the perfect level of measured chaos, but then there's romance in the film that he delivers very well, emotional beats that come off very sweet, very charming. But then when he's a badass, you believe him. He's in the scenes, he kicks ass, he plays this like down-to-earth hero. And I think that's what's so lovable about the entire film, is that I think maybe the film is enhanced by the fact that Ryan Gosling is so capable of playing a character like this with such ease. It's great. Emily Blunt and him have an incredible amount of chemistry in the film. The amount of romance that's in it. I mean, I'm not big on romance films. My favorite romance is Blue Valentine with Ryan Gosling, which tells you everything you need to know about the kind of romances I like. It's a very dark, sad, depressing romantic film about how relationships don't work out. And I love that film. But I don't seek out romantic comedies or anything like that. This was the way to get my ass into the seat of a romantic comedy. Because this is, I would say, leans more towards the romantic comedy aspect than the action-oriented aspect of the film. That is not to say there's not action, because there are spectacular action sequences in this film. Particularly, there's a highlight that is kind of a car chase that you've seen in the trailer, which is a great scene. But even in that scene, there's some parallel editing between like a conversation that Emily Blunt is having with another character about the romance with him and Ryan, and then the scene. And then they put like funny background music. So it's not solely an action film, but if you're looking for action, I would say that there are standout sequences. There's creative sequences. It's not going to rewrite the genre, but it's what you've come to expect from the director of like Atomic Blonde and John Wick, which is like, smooth transitions, good choreography, ingenuitive set pieces, kind of prolonged, but in between there's quite an amount of just like humor and romantic chemistry, and that's really the anchor of the film. Just like Nice Guys is more of a comedy first than it is an action film, but I think in all aspects the film works. The romance hits, the action hits, the comedy hits, and there's just a lot of, it's definitely an homage and or an ode to filmmaking as in general. There's a character in there who's very close to he plays M'Baku in Black Panther, and he's always dropping movie lines, and Ryan Gosling's like trying to guess the movies, and it's fun as the audience member going, I heard that, I know that movie. But what's cool is there's all this love about film. A lot of the film takes place on a set. It's a movie within a movie. It's super meta. And for anyone who like loves film and loves behind the scenes, this is like, as someone who's been in a lot of sets, this is like sort of like a really good representation of what like being on a set is. And I love that. It's just such a culturally fueled film about film. And that just really hit all the sweet spots. There's not much to say about it. It's a fun, action, romantic comedy. Is it a tad too long? Yeah, it's 2 hours and 4 minutes. And 4 of those minutes are credits, so it's like a perfect 2 hours. I would say it could have easily been 10 minutes shaved off, particularly probably the beginning. They took a while to get to the point, but that's not to say that this movie isn't rewatchable, because it is. I've seen it twice. I'll probably go in a third time, and definitely will be getting it on Blu-ray. So love the film. My next film, the big one, is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And the reason I fucking love this film, and might be my favorite of the year thus far, as far as like big blockbusters go, is because it doesn't feel like a blockbuster of the era, right? It doesn't feel like an MCU film as of late. It doesn't feel like... It feels like a film that was made in what I consider to be kind of the golden era of like summer blockbusters, right? When we had the original Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings trilogy, the original Matrix trilogy, when there was still excitement behind sequels, and there was this idea of let's shoot a story, let's have 3-act structure, but each act is a film, right? Matrix 1, Matrix Reloaded, Matrix Revolutions, and even with Matrix Revolutions being the weakest of that bunch, it's still a great movie, and it's a great arc. Lord of the Rings, it was a time, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, like you were excited for sequels, right? I don't think the stigma of like hey, they're just making this to make a buck, even though they obviously made them for more money. But it felt like there was always a narrative, or there was always something bringing you, there was a purpose for that film existing. Like Spider-Man 2, there's definitely a purpose for it. Spider-Man 3, again, another film and a third act of a series that didn't hit all cylinders, but I still find it fun. And that film had a purpose, right? So Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes feels, the franchise as a whole, Rise, Dawn, and War of the Planet of the Apes, feels like a film series that deserves like to be recognized along with Lord of the Rings. I love Planet of the Apes. That franchise, from Rise and then Matt Reeves' last two, Dawn and War, such huge hallmarks in like filmmaking, and that franchise just hits. And I think they're popular, but they don't get the amount of respect. Like, I'm usually the one that brings up that franchise in conversation, which is really interesting, because I think that what Matt Reeves did with those films, especially with the last two, was so special. And that's why I was so excited for him to direct the Batman. But Kingdom of Planet of the Apes is directed by Wes Ball, who he did the Maze Runner trilogy, which a lot of people don't love. I personally really enjoy. I love the Maze Runner books, and I think out of like that era of like the Hunger Games and Twilight, when like they were adapting every fucking book, I think the Maze Runner series is the best directed one out of the bunch, period. Obviously not Harry Potter withstanding, because that had a lot more time to cook than like the Maze Runner series. That started early 2000s. The Maze Runner series and Hunger Games, all that started like late 2010s and up, right? So, but I think that what he did here was take all the best qualities of the trilogy that already exists and go in a very logical sort of and move forward in a logical step. Like, what is the next story that we can tell? Let's jump a few generations past Caesar's death, and let's see what the next generation of ape, the evolved version of these apes, looks like. And it was so fucking interesting, because I look at this film and I look at Avatar. I'm not a big fan of like James Cameron's Avatar franchise. I know, super like that's controversial, I should say that, but I genuinely am not. I think they're fine films. They're directed well. They're directed masterfully. I don't think the story's good. I don't like the characters, and I don't feel immersed in the world. It doesn't feel lived in. For all the talk of all the special effects and the money that was thrown into the film, every time I look at those films, they remind me of like Ready Player One. But that film was in a simulation. It makes sense that it looks like that. It looks like high-end PS5 graphics. And I can't get immersed. I really can't. The action seems fluid and sterile, and it's just not gritty and dark enough and exciting enough and interesting enough. And there's just not enough there for me. All that being said, the films are both 3 fucking hours long. The last was like 3:30, right? And there's still like 3 more. Jesus, there's so much. But the point is, when I look at that film and I look at this film and I go, okay, the difference is cat people, apes, right? And it's still about like a civilization that's evolved, that's created its culture, that's moved forward. And I feel like this deserves the amount of love and respect that the Avatar franchise gets. Granted, James Cameron is an all original idea, although one could argue that he takes from everything that's ever existed ever. But I think Planet of the Apes is just such more immersive, and not to mention, the special effects on this film, on this franchise, might be some of the best I've ever seen. The apes only get more realistic, more realistic, more realized. They seem more dimensional and like they embody the world and the environment that they're in. And this is one of the biggest complaints I have against Avatar is, okay, sure, Avatar is this huge world that doesn't exist. You couldn't have just fucking gone to an actual place in the world and filmed on site and just put in some CGI to make it look like it's an alien planet if all of it is jungle anyway. I mean, even the fucking trees look CGI, and I know that they did to some extent, but the fauna and the alien life forms, there's not enough of it for me to go like, okay, I see why all this feels like it's super CG. And with Planet of the Apes, it just feels so lived in, so grounded. I believe we used to inhabit this world, and I believe that the apes took over, and it's just mind-boggling how like this doesn't get the love and admiration of like Avatar, because I truly think Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is a testament to how far filmmaking has gotten when it's used to its full potential. Cinematography, special effects, character development, build-up. It just feels fucking epic. This film feels like a step above everything cinematically as far as special effects that's come out in the last like 5 years. I don't think anything in the MCU as of late has looked as good or as polished or as realistic. The closest thing we've gotten to that is with Godzilla Kong New Empire. This looks better, and they're closer shots, more intimate shots. It's truly astounding, and to see that it's gotten good receptions really means a lot, because it means that we will get more of a franchise that is working with every installment and getting better. And there's some argument. I personally still love Dawn of the Planet of the Apes a little bit more than all of them, but not by much, because Kingdom truly is an evolution in the best possible way narratively. There's a great mystery to this film about something that the apes, Proximus Caesar, who is like the new second coming of Caesar, right? And he's sort of bending the gospel of the original Caesar, kind of like you see now in religion and faith, where it is about like sort of twisting and contorting it for your followers to get a bigger gathering, a bigger group of followers. And it's really interesting that that's the route that they took. I love that so much. They didn't have to go that deep, that hard, that fast, that good. Harder, better, faster, stronger. But I loved it. I thought that was so good. The characters here, particularly Noah, who's the main character, the female lead, who is secondary to him, they're good characters. They're well developed. I can't say that they're better than what we've seen, but we're talking about the first film in a new trilogy. I think that for a first film, these characters hit. They're empathetic and they're lovable, and you care for them. And there's just, that's great to see, because it means that in the next two films, oh my God, if they do indeed make a sequel or a trilogy, there's more development to be had, and you give a fuck. So you want to see another 2.5 hour long films about those characters. There is a huge mystery in the film that is, I was really excited for. They had a good way of presenting it, dealing with the conflict, and then telling you what that was at the end and how that all wraps up and how it leaves room for what's coming. The end of the film, that is how you do not a cliffhanger, but you make a complete film while still presenting vague ideas of what could come next. And that's something that now in the world of sequelitis, we don't usually get. It straight up cliffhangers and that's it. And the only films that could really get away with that back in the day were the Matrix trilogies and Lord of the Rings, because after every movie you would have a trailer of the sequel. And that was a unique and only kind of significant experience in film, especially during that time. But this is such a perfect way of continuing a franchise that hits. And I have no problem seeing a couple more. I genuinely love this franchise. I love this series. It hits in every way, storytelling, narratively, and the action set pieces are kinetic and well done and exciting, and they don't just feel like set pieces for the sake of set pieces, which is why that when they happen, one, they're pretty surprising, and two, what starts as like an initial set piece kind of builds on itself and becomes very kinetic and frantic. Good camera movement. I mean, the film as a whole is like the epitome of what I go to the summer, or what I go to the theaters during the summer for. This is like a summer blockbuster that calls to, like, it's an ode to those that real original sense of like summer blockbusters. So these two films, I saw them back to back on Mother's Day with my mom. It was my Mother's Day. One of my Mother's Day gifts to her is to have that like sort of mom-son movie date. And she's a big movie buff like myself. And we saw it and we had a fucking blast. We had a ball. It was such a great time to see two movies back to back that hit. All we did was laugh and like shock and gasp. It was great. So highly recommend them. Watch them. Please go watch them. As soon as you click off of this video, get in your car, go watch them. And order yourself some flatbread pepperoni pizza at AMC, because they're actually really good. They hit a little bit. And I'm on a diet, but I'll fuck up a flatbread pizza any day. And that's it. The next video is definitely Boy Kills World. I definitely want to create some kind of word of mouth, because I think, although I think that film is practically out of the theaters now, it deserves so much love. But anyway, that's the next video. Okay, bye.